Hey guys, it's Dasha. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to today's video, which is the Ringing in the New Year book tag. This is an original tag that was created by my lovely friend Ray over at Bookmark Chronicles. I talk about her all the time. You guys probably know her by now. And she created this tag a few years ago. I think it was either 2020 or 2021, just to kind of talk about our memories of the last reading year and looking ahead to the new one. I love this tag because it is mainly positive, and it's not just about reading, but reading habits. Not just about the books that we read, but about the way we read them and what we plan to do in the future year. So I will definitely go ahead and link her channel down below. I'll also link her original video as well as all the questions. I'll have them listed in case you want to do this yourself. I would encourage you, even if you don't make videos, because it's a fun way to kind of reflect on the previous reading year. Let's just go ahead and get started with the first question, which is, what is the best book or series that you read in 2024? I do have a whole video, if you are interested, where I kind of just yap about a lot of these. But for the sake of answering the question, the best series is really the only series that I finished, and that is the... Oh hey, there's still a bookmark in there. The best series is the only one I actually finished, and that is the First Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, which is a grimdark fantasy series. It's epic in scope. You follow a lot of different characters from wide cultures and different areas of this world as war kind of looms on the horizon. This is excellent. This is everything I love in fantasy. It is very character driven, it is very thematic, not super plot heavy. You would be kind of remiss if you go into this hoping for some like super high stakes plot. This is a really dark and gritty world. These characters are all shitty people, and I loved every minute of it. And because it's part of the series, Best Served Cold also gets to go on this list. It is a standalone in the world, but it is probably my favorite book of the year just because of how perfect every single little detail was. Joe Abercrombie definitely has a spot in my heart now. For best books, I definitely have a few. For nonfiction, I loved Audre Lorde's The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle a Master's House, series of essays that she wrote throughout her life. Really impactful, very intentional. I feel like every word she selected was so intentional and purposeful, and I really enjoyed her perspective. Monsters, A Fan's Dilemma by Claire Dederer. This is her exploration of what do we do with the art of shitty men, and I really appreciated her personal touch on this. It felt part memoir, part cultural critique, and I appreciated the way that she injected a lot of her own experience and her own view and values in this. It made it a very different experience than what I was expecting, but I really enjoyed it. A complete sleeper hit for me was The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. This is ostensibly about a couple and their couple issues, but it's really a kind of philosophical exploration of why existence is actually so silly and meaningless, and the kind of cyclical nature of existence and the things that we do in our lives and how they actually don't matter at all. This book kind of fucked me up, but I can tell it's going to be a favorite of all time. I'm like itching to reread it because I know I missed a bunch of things. So impactful, so unique. And finally, the white whale of my channel, Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. This is the epic revenge tale. This is a man who has been wronged by some people who thought that life was going too well for him, and he sets off on this immaculately plotted and executed quest to take them all down, ruin all their lives the way they ruined his, and it is just perfect in every way. The next question is authors that I discovered this year that I want to read more from. As I'm sure you've guessed, Joe Abercrombie tops that list. I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the First Law universe and probably other things that he puts out. I will also say Audre Lorde. So I had her more popular work, her more well-known work, Sister Outsider, on my list for years now, and I have been meaning to pick her up. And I think even if I didn't like this, I would have still read Sister Outsider because it is such a monumental work in feminism. But this just blew me away so much that now I'm excited to read Sister Outsider. I'm really glad that I liked her tone and her message and her voice. So I'm really looking forward to reading more from her. It just made me excited, even though I was planning on it anyways. The next question is best book to movie adaptation that I watched this year, or that came out this year, or the one that I'm most excited for 2025. Now, I didn't see anything that was super exciting for 2025 that's up my alley. I'm usually always a couple years behind to movies anyways. So I do have some for 2024 that I watched this year, not that came out this year. And I talked about some of them in my mid-year book freakout tag for sure, but Scott Pilgrim versus the World I absolutely loved. If you don't know this movie somehow by now, this is the iconic, if you want to date me, you have to defeat my 7 evil exes. And what a premise that is. This movie is so Canadiana, it is so camp. The fact that there's so many well-known celebrities in it, not just celebrities, but well-known actors that got their start, or at least this is one of their first big roles, is kind of crazy. I also loved V for Vendetta, so I picked up a copy of the comic after watching the movie because I really enjoyed it, but I was kind of curious to see what the differences would be, because there's definitely, from what I've heard, some liberties taken with the movie. So I'm very curious to see if I enjoy the book form as much as well. And also honorable mention to Blade. What a fun movie. Also realizing that all 3 of these are comics, so maybe I just really enjoy comic to movie adaptations. Question number 4 is, have your reading habits changed at all this year, and have you gotten into any new genres? My reading habits in 2024 were all over the place. 2024 was a chaotic year because of school and life, and as a result, my reading was just really unlike me. I had a really high average rating, and I was trying new genres, and I wasn't liking things I normally like. But at the same time, there's some things I didn't do as well as I probably should have. It's weird. I feel very weird about this reading year. So for the genre part of the question, I would say that I definitely got a little bit into literary fiction this year. I think that Mr. Kundera probably had something to do with that, because this was not a book that I would have probably picked up, at least anytime soon, on my own. This was a prompt that I got as part of my TBR game to just go on Instagram, and the first book that I see, I have to read. Luckily, this one was part of a photo that had a bunch of books in it, but I ended up picking this one out because I'd heard about it before, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go with something I at least had on my radar, because I hadn't heard, I think, of any other book in that photo, and this ended up being amazing. So I definitely feel as though I am looking forward to reading more literary fiction. It's one of those genres where you kind of have to know less going into the books and just really think about the thematic work and what other people say about it and see if that appeals to you, is at least how I view it. That's what's really kind of helped me pick books I think I will enjoy. I haven't read a ton in 2024, but that's definitely something that I'm more open to now. I also made good on my promise to myself, or like my soft goal, to read more classics, because I always say that I like them and I say that I want to read more, but then my brain wants to do easy things instead of hard things, and I read less classics than I always set out to. But this year I was pretty good. A lot of modern classics, to be sure, but a lot of classics as well, and I'm really proud of myself for that. I've also been leaning towards reading, again, more difficult books, not just classics, but just longer books, more dense books, and being okay with really taking my time. There's a philosophy book I finished recently that took me literal months, and I will have to go back and make summaries for each point or chapter, but I feel okay about that now. I think having finished Monte Cristo really helped with that, because this is obviously a doozy of a book. It is a very long book, it is a very complex book. I had to draw a character map at the back just to keep track of who is who, because some people had multiple names, some people were the children of other people and whatever. But this kind of thing used to intimidate me, is what I'm trying to say. I used to be really focused on just finishing books and getting through them, but I really have learned this year to sit down and take my time and really savor books. That sounds kind of weird, because like that implies that I didn't do that before, but I did. It's more so that I feel okay with having a lower, I guess, output of books that I'm finishing in favor of being able to really get into certain books. Not all books are made to savor and luxuriate inside of, but some books definitely are, and I'm feeling better about doing that because of my reading this year, and I think partially because of having actually finished Monte Cristo. One thing, however, that I'm less proud of, which is definitely a change in reading habit, I've read a lot less diversely than I usually do. I don't know why particularly. The only thing that really comes to mind is that I was very much in a nonfiction mood all year, and the nonfiction that I read tends to focus more on American foreign policy or politics, or things that necessarily don't have a very diverse group of people writing about them, which is unfortunate. A lot of things that I was reading for school, a lot of things that maybe lean more towards fields that are not naturally diverse is, I guess, the best way to say it. Like, it's not that I was only reading from an American perspective, but a lot of the things that I was gravitating towards, whether for school or for research for my MRP, just kind of ended up being not super diverse. So that's something that I'm going to focus on next year. Question number 5 is your favorite ship, whether friendship or relationship from the year, or new favorite character. And I'm gonna have to go with my 2 revenge baddies here. Monza Mercado from Best Served Cold is our main character who gets thrown off a balcony overlooking a cliff and is left for dead, betrayed, and she survives, and she goes on an epic revenge quest to basically kill every single man who was in the room that day when she was betrayed and thrown off the balcony, and I respect her so much for it. She is not a good person, and she recognizes that. She does not feel good doing the things that she does, but she has this unwavering dedication to what she does that is so fascinating to watch. Like, I think if you liked Kill Bill, you would enjoy this book and you would enjoy Monza. And similarly, our Count, Edmond Dantes, you gotta respect someone that is that petty and that dedicated to ruining people's lives. I have to respect it. So the next question is, have you started planning your TBR for 2025, and how many books do you plan to read? I'm going to aim for 36 books or 3 a month, and while that is significantly lower than my other like not school years, the goal is really, again, to savor the books, to slow down, and to be okay with reading longer and more difficult books. I think I will read more than 36. That's not to say that that is just, I'll be happy if that's all I read, but it's more so to not put a really strict number on it and to be okay with having those books that take me longer and having those months where I only finish 2 books or 1 book. That's because I was spending time with these really complex books. The years in the past where I was able to read like 60, 70 books in a year was because I was reading thrillers, young adult, and just generally books that did not require a lot of brain power, and that's fine, and I'm glad that it got me back into reading, but that's just not where my interests lie. But at the end of the day, like, I still have comics on my TBR and things that will take me a little bit less time to get through, so it's not that I'm just going full pretentious and only reading difficult books. It's not that. It's just that I do want to make sure that I am still intellectually stimulating myself now that I don't have school, and that I am okay now to read books that are more difficult, that will take me a lot more time and force me to write notes and think about them a lot more. But like, I still read fantasy. Fantasy doesn't take me that long to get through, and I love my fantasy. I always will. I do like mysteries. I like horror. Those are not books that take necessarily a ton of time, but I'm not giving myself a very large goal. I'm reducing my goal from the last few years. In fact, I think that's a very manageable goal for me. I do have a short list of things that I want to read when it comes to the TBR. I've started a list of 25 books for 2025. I am still debating if I want to put that out there into the universe because I'm not historically very good at sticking to yearly TBRs, because there's things that interest me at the beginning of the year, and then towards the middle of the year I realize that like I'm not even that interested in those books, or that they're just not the mood right now. But that being said, it is fun to kind of have this short list of books that are immediately interesting, that have piqued my interest, or that I've been meaning to get to, and if I put them on the list, maybe I'll be more inspired to pick them up. Question number 7 is, will you participate in any readathons or reading challenges? And of course, I always love one. The problem is, especially with a lower reading goal, it might not always be possible. For example, I love the Magical Readathon. I love what G does, and I would always be happy to participate in it. I just need to gravitate towards professions, I guess, that don't require as many books to be read, or really save a bunch of like thrillers, comics, mangas, mysteries, horror books for that time of year when those readathons are happening, because there's no way I would pick up one of my more complex tomes that I'm saying I want to read for a readathon like that. In terms of reading challenges, if we want to call it that, I do plan on doing my TBR game every month. Like, that is still something I really want to do. That's something I enjoy. That's something that brings me a lot of joy, but also a lot of heartbreak. But it's a good way for me to push myself out of my comfort zone and also pick up things that are maybe not immediately what I'm in the mood for, but there's still room. Like, the whole point is that there's prompts, so there is room for mood reading. I pick just whatever fits best in those prompts. All I'm trying to say is that is a reading challenge that I will be continuing in 2025, that I plan to do monthly. Unfortunately, given that my goal is only 36 books, that means I will only be rolling for 3 books a month. But the point is that it forces me to pick up different things. I really enjoy it. I really like how into it everyone else gets. I think that's really, really fun that other people have enjoyed the game enough to ask for a copy of it, which you can find in the Google Drive link down below. I think I've now made it so all my videos have it linked, but if not, the actual TBR game videos have that drive linked. So if you want to play along, if you're not getting your fix with only 3 rolls a month, you're welcome to play along as well. And the last question is, do you have any New Year's resolutions, any goals? And it could be bookish, to do with YouTube or otherwise. And of course, obviously. So when it comes to books, of course, the 36 books in the year is the actual numerical goal. I want to focus on diversifying my reading. I'm also going on a book buying ban, which is strong words, but I have some goals in my personal life that require some financial investment, and I would like to make use of my library more and only buy things that I have either read or that I started from the library and I know that I will want to keep and write in, because I do love writing in my books. But other than that, there's like a true imposed book buying ban for 2025. Which is a little scary, but it's okay because I'm more looking forward to what I will do with that money in the next year, hopefully. So fingers crossed I can stick to it. When it comes to YouTube and TikTok, I want to keep posting content. I now have time and I found a renewed energy finally. I think the name of the game for 2025 is consistency and innovation. I want to make sure I am consistently uploading. I want to make sure I always have a bank of ideas and things that I want to do that excite me and inspire me. But also innovation. I want to try new things. I want to experiment with my content. I want to generally just be excited about content creation in a way that I haven't been with school. And of course, part of that is school, but I think also at some point when I went up to 2 videos a week, I burnt myself out. Not worth it. Just not worth it. So I think the point is, instead of being consistent and putting out content, is just still innovating and making sure that it's exciting for both you and me. I only put out things that I think I would want to watch as well. So I hope that kind of comes through, and I hope that continues to come through. I have a lot of ideas, but I just wasn't always able to implement them with school. So hopefully in the year 2025, we will keep innovating and we will keep creating and we will stay consistent and just generally just get that spark back for YouTube. I've been fairly consistent on TikTok in the last few months. It's also really helped me get better with YouTube, I find, because you are in this much shortened time frame and you kind of have to get things out a little bit faster. So I feel like it's helped me in a weird way get better at talking about books for YouTube. So I definitely want to stick with it. But then sometimes I get in a mood where I just want to delete all of my TikTok and like never look at it again, because obviously it's so bad for your brain. But I have gotten really good recommendations on there, so I'm torn. It's definitely a different skill set to YouTube, and it's very different in terms of as a platform. And then on top of that, I'm Canadian, so I can never even get paid there. So sometimes I wonder what the point of sinking that much time into it is. But I think the fact that it is a different skill set is very useful in terms of, figuring out different ways to create videos and create content and edit it and transfer that to YouTube. I think is still kind of valuable. So that was it. That was all the questions of the Ringing in the New Year tag. If you are interested in doing this, then I will just go ahead and tag you. You don't need my permission though. Please make sure to check out RAE'S channel, RAE'S video. I don't know if I'm pre-filming this, so I don't know if she will have posted hers yet. If she has, I'll make sure to link that, of course, but if not, go check her out anyways. She is lovely. She has been working so hard ever since I started following her and we started talking. She has been incredibly consistent and it's just very, very inspiring. Yeah, this is an awesome tag. Like, this is such a good little retrospective and looking forward, and I really appreciate it. Along with RAE'S channel, you can also find my social media link down below. You guys can always come talk to me there. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!